Now, some of you are just seeing all these cells going on here and there. How does it look like in real life? Have you ever been to a beauty contest? Not necessarily, not as a contestant, but you watch a beauty contest. I know you holy men don't ever see beautiful women on beauty contests, right? So those of us not so holy, we watch this beauty contest. And I know most women also watch, right? Women like to see beautiful women too, right? And when you see a beautiful woman out there, what makes you think that woman is beautiful? I say woman because we don't have men's contests. So we have, God has endued women with great beauty. And you need to believe this. What makes that woman beautiful? How do you know that the woman is beautiful? Yeah, well designed. Firstly, on top, what must a woman have? Hair, the right amount. If it's all over her hair, what do you get? A gorilla. Have you been to a gorilla beauty contest? So, gorillas are not beautiful, at least to human beings, all right? Now, what else do you see about a woman that's beautiful? The right proportion, the right shape, correct? Then skin color, then the proportion. We say big eyes, not too big, otherwise they look like owls. But everything about a woman is so beautiful, just from the physical shape alone, the proportion, you know that that's something so beautiful. And it all has to do with the DNA. So I know some of you say, well, I wish God give me those DNA of those beautiful women or that handsome guy. But really, a lot of it is not because God didn't put that DNA of beauty in us. It's because we never do maintenance. Everything you don't do maintenance, it goes haywire. It looks ugly. So I believe every woman is beautiful if you know how to do maintenance. And not complain every time you look in the mirror and say, God, you make some mistake in your DNA, you know. No, he never makes mistakes. So that's how it looks beautiful. The Word of God says God makes everything beautiful in His time. But when it comes to our time, we never maintain. Of course, then we blame God. So, I only show you one. But I'd like to show you one more thing that is common to all machines. Whether it's a motor car or a crane, what do you have in your design? Let me give you a simple example of design. But let me give you another example of all machines, because you read here and there, they are called words like molecular machines. All right, so let me explain to you. Your body is full of molecular machines, meaning they are machines, but at the molecular level. That means it's the smallest. So any machine, all right, we have what is called a drive. You must have a drive. So in a motor car, a drive would be the engine. Then you need to have another thing called control. And of course, there are other things, but let me just focus on two things. You cannot have any machine that has a drive like an engine, but no control. What happens? If there's no control, it'll be out of control. All of us always think about, when we look at a car, what do you see? We only see the outside. But really what works is the engine. Now, the second part will be the control. Everything God makes and works has this two key functions and more, but let me just go on to these two first. When Darwin and all his friends Darwin copied the concept of evolution. In fact, he copied from everywhere. So much so that he could not even integrate his book on the origins of life. It took him 12 years to correct and recorrect until there's some resemblance of integration. That means you say A, you must connect to B, B cannot contradict A, and so much contradiction. It took him 12 years. That's happened when he copies. But his disciple Thomas Huxley said, very good, so explained his concept. But let me get back to you. You know, everything that God, he did not understand the concept of controls. Those of us in engineering, we are very clear on exact sciences. This is a form of a machine. You know what this is? This is the tail of the bacteria that swims around in your stomach when you eat yogurt. They call it probiotics and so on. Actually, but they are good bacteria, don't worry, they are good bacteria. Bacteria is shaped like a sausage, but this is the tail. Sometimes it's called a flagellant because it looks like a whip, so we call it flagellant, you know, like cowboys, they wave, something like that. So this is a tail of a tiny bacteria. But it's a machine, it's a micro machine, very powerful micro machine. And a scientist called Scott, he researched this machine for 20 years. 20 years, he got a doctorate for researching this. Now, this is a machine. There are 40 parts to this machine. Your engine has got less than 40 parts, but this is a micro machine and the tail of a bacteria. Every bacteria has this machine. Now, it has got a rotor, which means it returns. It's got a tail, because it's the tail that moves the bacteria forward and backwards and so on. So it's a machine, 40 parts. Now, so tiny has got design. It's got a stator, it's got a rotor, it's got bearings, it's got all kinds of things. You see that green part, that's the wall of the skin of the bacteria. So it's attached on it at the tail. Not at the head, at the tail. All right, now. The researcher says this, that not only must it be designed, it must be designed to fit in a certain order. Now, if you are familiar, there's a word we will always hear from scientists, the word sequencing. That means it must be in correct sequence. Design requires a correct sequence. For instance, 40 parts. You can have all the 40 parts. According to scientist Mr. Scott, he said, you can have all the 40 parts, but if you don't join it correctly, it will not work. So, Mr. Scott, who was not a Christian, said this, all the parts must exist all together at one time. You cannot evolve the tail and then after some time you have the rotor turning part, then the stator turning part, and the bearings and no. If you just have the tail, very soon you'll drop off. There'll be no more tail. All the parts, 40 parts, must not only exist together at one time, but it must be assembled in correct sequence. This word sequencing is a very important word in the field of sciences. Okay, so this is called a machine, a very efficient machine. That's why bacteria thrives everywhere. They swim everywhere. And What does it tell about it? You need to have a drive.